What's up? Karen Lovely here. Good morning. I am about to do another pre-recorded live coaching, and I have never, ever coached this human being ever before, and he has bravely committed to being on this podcast for the first time and has an amazing question in regards to prosperity, magnetizing prosperity in every area of life. We are primarily focusing on money, and with that, the reason why I chose to actually coach a human being on my podcast, unscripted, unsolicited, he came to me, is because as human beings, we are all fundamentally the same in terms of how our brain, the human brain, functions. And in listening to someone else, we really want to listen for ourselves, because there's always something in it for us as the listener. And it, at face value, it might seem like, no, they're talking about him or her, and that is not me. That's not my life. I don't have that same circumstance or situation. Yes, that is true, but underneath it, there is absolutely something for another human being, no matter demographic, no matter age, gender, sexual orientation. It doesn't matter. What levels the playing field is being human. And here's the thing. This is the absolute thing that set me free in my own journey of understanding myself and how my brain worked against me and not for me most of the time. And understanding that if I have these basic issues, every human being on the planet has these issues, and really what put me over the top in terms of catapulting my whole life and my own belief in myself, my self-confidence, self-esteem, was listening to other people's situations that were so relatable. And it actually had me learn and grow faster, because I understood that if I just listened and applied it to my own life and just changed the circumstances, the situations, that person was a mere reflection for me and to me, to absolutely have me be most powerful in every area of my life. So that said, I would like to introduce the daring, wonderful Derek. Good morning, Derek. How are you?
Good morning, Karen. I'm good. How are you?
Well, that was a big mouthful there. Did you catch it?
I'm so excited to be here. I'm just ready to learn a lot.
Okay, great. So that said, please let me know your question, your first question that we'll address.
So Karen, I wanted to ask you, what mindsets and character flaws are stopping me from making more money?
Okay, so across the board, I will tell you the answer is, and we want your unconscious, subconscious mind to really understand this, is, first of all, they're not character flaws, is that it's just new information that you never had access to up until this point in your life. So let's take that out. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not flawed in any way, shape, or form. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So even in your speaking, you think you have a flaw. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't that interesting? That would be the characteristic flaw, is that you think you have a flaw. At least one flaw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never thought of it like that.
Yeah. Okay. So we're always going to go to the negative. The human brain focuses. The fear mechanism focuses on negativity and potential danger, or things that might threaten our livelihood, our aliveness, breathing with a pulse. And then with that, we actually we conceive and perceive negativity, which you have it, obviously, that your character is flawed, is so telling. Yes? Where do you think that comes from?
I think that just comes from witnessing my various failures, and my brain automatically, decodes that into, oh, there's something wrong with you.
Right. So that's exactly across the board how the human brain functions, okay, by default. And so it's our conscious mind that we must evolve and grow so that we can actually understand and reframe that there's nothing wrong here. There's not one flaw whatsoever. Even if you're missing both your arms and both your legs, you're not flawed. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Is that you just have a torso and no arms and no legs. Period. It's very objective. Now, the human brain, the subconscious mind particularly, doesn't know the difference between what is imagined, okay, or made up or perceived versus what is actually objective reality. So what happens is how the brain computes information is that it takes objective reality in 3D and then it tries to make sense of it with the information that it has stored in the memory bank. So for instance, we can look at fire. So back in the caveman days, we have fire. Ooh, fire good, fire bad. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, see this? So the brain, doesn't automatically go, oh, fire good in fireplace, fire bad if the whole house is on fire and you can't get inside, right? It's a conscious mind that has to go, oh, fire, dangerous, potential danger, red alert, doot, doot, doot. And then it's like, wait a minute, is that a fire, controlled fire, a campfire, controlled with people around it, from afar if you're observing? Or is that, oh my God, the start of a wildfire that potentially can kill animals and land and people? You see this?
Yes.
So then you have to consciously go, wait a minute, getting closer. Do you see people? Are there rocks around the fire? Is it contained? And then you go, oh, okay, it is contained. It's just a campfire and they're roasting marshmallows. But you can't see that at the top of the mountain, several thousands of yards away. So this is where the conscious mind has to help us out. So that said, once we know that you don't have any character flaws, that your brain is just functioning actually quite normally, isn't that interesting? I will tell you that you have skewed perceptions about what money is for you, and you have what's missing is teaching yourself how to be confident within yourself regardless of what other people say, think, or do. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So we would say what's missing in your personality or your character that blocks you from, your passions, your career, and then attracting or making money. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
So let's dig deeper. Meaning, first of all, right out of the gate, let's talk money. What are your thoughts about money? Like, what do you think money is and what it can do for you or not do for you?
So I think money is, in my eyes, a vehicle for me to use to just gain newer life experiences, gain more power and control over my life, just to be able to, seek new experiences and build long-term wealth for my family and for my legacy.
Okay, that's very wise. That's very amazing, right? That you're thinking legacy, early on in your life. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and money's a vehicle for that. So let's reverse engineer it. Without that money, what's going to happen? Just go down the rabbit hole with it.
Yeah. Without that money, I feel like my life will be very boring. And it'll be harder for me to seek new experiences and, manifest whatever is in my mind into the real world, because at the end of the day, I think we need to use money to manifest things. It's a lot easier. We have a lot more power when you have money to do the things that you want.
Oh, okay. So that sounds good on the surface. So can I challenge you for just a moment? Okay. So I'd like to see, let's ask Steve Jobs, for instance, how that's going for him.
Yeah, you can't.
How come?
He passed away.
Do you have any idea how much cash he had in the bank?
Probably well in the hundreds of millions.
Billions.
Billions.
Billions of cash. Cash. How is it? Isn't that interesting? That's a deep concept, though. It couldn't save his life or extend his life, could it? All the money in the cash?
No, it couldn't. Not with current technology.
He has a legacy now, so that's great. But when you die at 56 years old, yow. And the average lifespan is
missing out.
73. So this is what is flawed, if you want to use your word, not mine, is what you think money can do for you or not do for you.
Right.
Okay, this is a big concept. This is actually like most of it. And now you did say something that was that I can agree with. It does make things easier. But the one thing it will never, ever guarantee is legacy. You see this? And it won't guarantee what it sounds like to me, freedom, or what word would you use?
I would say control.
Control. Okay, well, it definitely doesn't guarantee control. And then let's talk about this word control. It's a very subjective concept, so we want to stay open.
Okay.
Do we really have control over anything in life?
No, I mean, accidents can happen at any moment.
Exactly.
And it's not in our hands.
So the need to control, Derek, is a self-defense coping mechanism we use when we feel really underneath it all out of control.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that really hits home.
Yeah. Okay, so at some level, you don't think you have control of your life.
I would agree.
Okay, good. So what specifically comes up when you think about the one thing you want to control? Either in a feeling or a...
I guess just the feeling of if I wanted to do something, money wouldn't be a block to it. I wouldn't have to say, I can't travel here because I don't have enough money, or I can't buy my girlfriend this gift because I don't have enough money, or I can't eat out tonight because I don't have enough money.
Right. Okay, so I want to explain how this works because I was right there with you.
Okay.
In terms of, for me, I associated money with freedom. Okay, so I'm a freedom seeker. In other words, my personality or part of my character is to have this sense of freedom and feel free in every area of my life, meaning I get to do what I want, when I want, how I want, on my terms. Yes?
Right, yeah.
And then not give a flying F what other people say, think, or do, even if they look at me cross-eyed and crunch their face and even call me a bad name, which I've had. I've been bullied in high school, that kind of thing, yeah?
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. Is that similar to what you're saying? Because it sounds the same to me.
Yeah, for sure. That is what I'm seeking, at least part of it.
Right. So in my experiences, what I did was as a recovering overachiever, I went for prosperity in every area, but I had to achieve something. And then part of that achievement was making a crap load of money. So, right. And then if I examine that, the sad part was with the more money I made, the less free I felt. That was,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is, again, across the board. Is it really freedom, or do I just have bigger numbers in my bank account that I need to account for, right? In my check transaction log. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I was thinking, because this is all I knew, especially because of my parents who are self-made. You know, they did very well. They started from nothing. Although my father has a great education, you know, Ivy League and PhD, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't mean anything to me, but I'm proud that my dad has that. But it doesn't make a difference. He actually didn't make money. All the bulk of their money was not made with his degree from college. It was made through investment real estate, which, by the way, I come from myself personally and still have my California real estate license active. Yes?
Yes.
So when the money was coming in, I was thinking, oh my God, the more money I have, the happier and freer I will be. You see this? This is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're thinking the same thing. If I have more money, I have freedom and I can do what I want, how I want, and I can help my family. You said that. And
right.
I can, do whatever you want to do and then eventually leave a legacy of some sort. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And then I brought up Steve Jobs. Yeah. Did you, and then you're like, he has a legacy, but he wasn't really good in the realm of family. He denied the paternity of his firstborn child, his daughter.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then he blatantly said, no, she is not mine. You're like, okay, dude, you don't know anything about forensic science and DNA testing? Dude, you're screwed, okay? And seriously, it's not going to go well. And sure enough, it did not. You understand?
Yes.
So is that helping your family? You can buy them the latest iPhone, I guess, but which would hurt more? Not your father denying your existence and that he's not your father? That would kill me.
Yeah, no, that would definitely hurt a lot.
Right? More than not getting the latest iPhone, truth be told. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So what we do and how we're in general programmed as human beings, especially in the US, right, first world, okay, is that if we think we have this, and this, and it doesn't have to be just money. We are focusing on that right now, but it's all the same. If I had the girlfriend of my dreams, if I had the boyfriend of my dreams, if I had the husband of the car, do you understand this? The iPhone, all the money in the world, then I'll be what? What word would you put there? Then I'll be...
I mean, realistically, I would probably seek for something more once I attain that.
Right.
But I guess content in the moment.
Okay, good. That's what... So now you're like, if I have all this, then I'll be content in the moment. Content. So that's interesting. This is not a judgment, but contentment? Wow, that's very telling. If you had a choice between contentment and radical, through and through, exhilarated fulfillment and happiness, which one would you choose?
The latter.
You're smart, Derek. I knew it. You had to be smart, right? To show up. Bing, bing, bing. We got a winner. Exactly. Doesn't that sound more doesn't that feel better?
Yes.
Yes. Now let's talk about feelings quickly. In general, men or males are more disconnected to feelings. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so it's one of those things. So it goes both ways. In general, women or females tend to be a little too overly feeling. Do you ever notice that? Because that was me. A little
I do notice
too emotional. Isn't that true? Mm-hmm. So if only we could each balance out, that would be really good. Yes, and I can speak from experience. Sure. I was quite the little drama queen, emotionally. Right? Either keep them pented up, so I was very, like a robot, And then the minute I got triggered or something happened, I was very reactive. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then men in general, especially in the U.S., are taught to not be emotional. Yes?
Yes.
So that's why we have to see it's very important that masculine, feminine, male, female, if you're human, you must have a really great relationship to yourself and your feelings and your thinking and your thoughts.
Right.
Okay? Which was something that is like, oh my gosh, that's interesting. So when I learned, and it just resonated with me, and I do believe this, our thoughts actually create our feelings. You're like, what? Our perceptions.
Okay.
Our perceptions.
Yeah, in what ways, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, no, I don't. So, for instance, my thoughts and perceptions were, if I had a crap load of money, then I'd be able to buy myself a horse, and then I'd be free, and I'd be happy. Ecstatically happy. Do you see this? Those are my thoughts. If I have more money, then I get to do what I want and have what I want, which was a horse at the time. Yes?
Right. Yes.
Okay, so those are my thoughts. So then reverse it. I don't have the money, okay, which I didn't. I don't have the money, therefore I can't get a horse. Therefore I don't get what I want. Therefore I'm not happy, which made me feel crappy. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
And then when I did get the money, you see, then I'm like, yay, I can have a horsey, right? And then I'm like, yay, I get what I want. Nah, 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 nah. Life is good. Then I felt happy. But what happens when I don't have money that month? What happens?
Then, you're tied to the money.
Bingo. Do you see this? My happiness is contingent upon money. Do you see that's flawed? I'm going to keep saying your word now till you get sick of it, Derek. How do you like that?
Yeah.
Do you see how flawed that thinking is? You have that same flawed thinking right now. You see that? I'm not saying don't have money.
Right.
But what I saw was, because guess what? Made crap loads of money. Right? I invested in real estate. I negotiated my dream ranch myself, which you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to represent yourself with a property you're emotionally involved in. You see this? You understand? I did it anyway, and it was very stressful. It worked out for the best, but how come I wasn't any happier? Isn't that weird? That's when I knew my system was flawed. It didn't work.
Right.
We're trying to have you avoid that. Like, you're actually doing that right now. You're doing similar. That you don't even have to own real estate to feel like, okay, you have money and you feel good. And when you don't have money, you feel bad. Do you see the problem with that?
Yeah, I do feel it right now.
I'm sorry, say again, you just cut out.
Yeah, I do feel that right now. So I've been starting a small business, a short-term rental business. And, during the months I do make a decent amount of money, it does boost my happiness, at least in the short term. And then during like a slow month, I like literally feel myself less happy, or like worrying about the money and like what it could have been more. Right.
You cut out again. You could have had more. Is it what you said?
Yeah, like just like chasing the feeling of what it could have been if I had more. If I did make more money that month.
Exactly. Do you see how now you're an emotional roller coaster?
Right. Yeah, that's how I would describe it.
Okay, so now when I learn, thank God for new information and being open-minded and seeking help from experts, okay? What I ended up learning is that I was living my life backwards. Okay, so clearly I'm an overachiever. An overachiever is a doer and a haver, okay? So I was doing, training, competing, right? So then I'd feel good about myself in order to feel good, but to be happy. Yes? And
Yes.
feel this sense of happiness, which I never felt as a kid, right? And then
Right.
most of my life. So then if that didn't work, and then I did the real estate thing and that didn't work, and then I was taking classes, I didn't have a coach like me, which I wish I did, but I had really smart, intelligent, genius-like people, groups of them, right, that helped me see that I was doing and having in order to be, and that's backwards. The way to do it is to be first. Be happy first. Duh. What? How come nobody told me this, right?
Yeah.
Freaking, hello, Grandpa, you went to Harvard, PhD, dude, somebody help me, right?
Right.
Oh my God, Dad, Cornell, anything at all. People, throw me a bone. This is as a kid. And then finally I'm like, that's it. 9 years old. I want therapy with the little fist on the table. I need therapy because you all aren't helping me here. Nobody taught me this. But
Right.
the experience of achieving, my God, multi-million-dollar net worth I achieved in like 2 years. The minute
Wow.
I set my mind on my real estate investment. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy. Yeah. Okay, great.
Okay.
Right? But why am I depressed still, unhappy, and how come the love of my life boyfriend, we're not together? Still not happy. Worse. Because here I was living in the illusion that having all the stuff that I wanted, achieving everything that I wanted, okay, would make me happy.
Right.
No.
Yeah. Question, Karen.
Wait, you cut out. Say again?
A question.
Yes.
So actually, I would say right now I'm pretty content and pretty happy. I would say, like I rarely get down nowadays. But it always feels like there's something in me that's urging me to seek more, and to seek out new experiences. And honestly, I think it's just out of boredom. I just want to, seek new things in life, new experiences. And is that the right mindset to have? Because I have a great girlfriend, great friends. I'm enjoying, the grind up right now, working on my business, and I'm pretty independent. And I would say I am pretty happy. But I just constantly still feel a need to seek more and seek new.
Yes, because underneath it all, unconsciously, it's still not enough. Now, let's talk about this. So first,
Okay.
we're crystal clear, because it sounds like you're really connecting the dots here, yes?
Yes.
So there's still some flaws. Ta-da! Not in you, Derek, right? Not in you
yeah.
personally, but in your line of thinking, perceiving, and how it's computing in your brain. And that's still not even a flaw. It's just what is. Does that make sense? Like, we don't even need to subjectively define it in any way. There's some just disconnects.
Okay.
Things aren't tracking. Okay? So how we have it track is we have to go look for what we can't see. We have to actually go backwards in our life based on our experiences and connect the dots looking backwards, which is a Steve Jobs quote. I just did not give it justice right there. But how I say, so that's awesome. But I say, we need to look for what we can't see, that we don't even know to look for, that's getting in the way. So it means it's going to be unconscious to us. We're not going to have any conscious awareness of it. And it's going to stem from childhood. So, okay? So
Yeah, I
hang on.
do feel that I'm
Yes.
searching for something that I can't seem to put a finger on.
Okay, so let me just recap. It's not the doing and the having and the doing in order to be. It's understand why we're not being content in the moment or happy in the moment, yes?
Yes.
And why in our beingness, because we're human beings, isn't that interesting? We're not human doings or human havings, we're human beings.
I like that.
Yeah, right? So we need to learn what it is to be. to be first, and then everything attracts to that, because the vibrational frequency sent out from our brains like a radio frequency. Okay, brain to brain to brain, and then that's what has us attract stuff. But I'm getting too far ahead. We need to focus on, you say in general you're happy, which is great, and you can see everything that is working in your life, and you have a lot of gratitude, it sounds like you clearly can see that. Yes. So now we're looking at the reason why you're not being your beingness, I should say, has some patchy spots, blind spots, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go back. Now we can talk about the childhood. Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
So what we need to know is around 2 years old, the human brain has the ability to be, to perceive or have consciousness. By 2, the human brain in general, everyone's a little different. I started like younger, is we have the ability to associate, and we have thoughts based on language. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay, but generally before that, alls we are is this blob, and we're super unconscious. We're like, feed me, cry, 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 change me, feed me, change me, burp me, let me sleep. Which sounds pretty cool, right? Because you don't, like, you're just like happy as a clam as long as you have mommy. Yeah? All right, and daddy, but mostly mommy, since she has the milk. But after that, we have the ability to interpret things and to make up things in our mind with just real basic language. Okay? So fundamentally, every human being gets in touch with this feeling or notion that something's wrong or something's missing. Does that make sense? This is...
Yes.
Okay? So it's something from your childhood where it's not enough. Even though you're saying you're happy, you're not really happy or content. Because now you just told us, right, that when the money starts to run out at the end of the month, you start to get a little like, ugh.
Yeah, my brain starts to extrapolate that and make me think, oh, there's no way you're going to achieve your dream at this rate. It tends to extrapolate my like short-term performance.
Yeah. Okay. Say that again clearly because you cut out, but say it again.
Yeah. So my brain tends to extrapolate my short-term performance.
Yep.
So during a bad month, my brain will say, hey, look, like, you're not going to achieve your dreams at this rate. Like, something's wrong here. And then that's when, like, the emotions and fear kick in.
Right. But how are you feeling?
Just feeling like my dream is getting further and further away.
Which how does that affect your emotions or your mood?
It makes my mood bad. I operate from fear.
Okay, so stay with the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're trying to articulate it in language as opposed to telling us how you feel, right? We're back to imperative. Okay. You said it. Your mood is what? Because you cut out again. Say it again.
Mood is bad.
Yeah. Ta-da! No more questions, Your Honor. The bench rests. We presented the case. Do you see this? Isn't that weird? Based on your perceptions, now you're feeling bad. You have it that you're not on track. You're not moving fast enough. Isn't that true?
Yes. Yeah.
So at some level, you're saying, unless I move fast enough and you're on track and you're hitting all your milestones on your terms, okay, you're not making the cut. It's not happening. And therefore, you feel badly. You feel whatever words you want to use. Worried, stressed, bad, crappy. You understand? You don't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Which then completely cancels out and trumps, eclipses the contentment you just said you had.
Right.
So do you see how your perceptions are dictating your feelings and emotions, your mood?
Yeah, I see.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's got to go. And what's missing is why that happens. Ah, wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you remember early on in your childhood, because that's where it's going to start, that's where the program is downloaded and installed, closer to age 2, 3, 4. Anything you can remember?
Yeah, so when you mentioned those years, the first thing that comes to mind is actually something pretty negative. Like growing up, my dad has abused me, and what I remember is when he beat me when I was like 3, and then he locked me in the bathroom, and I think he came in later and he was crying, he was apologizing with me in the bathtub. So that's something that's still vivid in my memory.
Okay, perfect. And that story is pretty common, unfortunately. But that was very traumatizing. Okay? So what happens is anytime the brain is in fear, flight, fight, freeze mode, okay, the brain memorized that situation. So you're 3 years old and you vividly remember that. So why did he beat you?
I don't remember. I think it was I accidentally broke something, or I remember it was an accident.
Okay, good. So you remember it's an accident, and then he beat you, and then he locked you in the bathroom.
Right.
Okay. Do you remember your thoughts, like what you were thinking or said to yourself at all?
Most of it was dread, like dreading when he would come in and do his work.
Okay. So I know it's a little uncomfortable, but this is what we have to deal with, okay? So
yeah.
Did you remember dread? Okay, that's great. Dread. So if the words come up in your head now, just say it. You're 3. What would you might have said, like, oh, my dad doesn't like me, or I'm bad, or I'm in trouble? Anything like something of that nature that you said or thought?
Yeah, I think it was more something like I'm in trouble. Yeah, I haven't really attributed like a flaw to him. I still feel like he's a good person. I know he has a bad temper, but I would just dread what was going to happen in the moment.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That feeling of like having no control, and he's dominating the moment. He can come by whenever he wants and like do whatever he wants. And I know my mom was like trying to stop him, but she couldn't.
Right. Okay, you just told us everything. You actually felt like you had no control. You just said it.
Right. So
at 3 years old, do you understand? You perceive that you don't have any control. Okay,
wow.
See that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just good.
Okay.
You're doing amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is what we got to do, and this is why most people don't get it. Is we got to go back to childhood. It'll tell us everything.
For sure.
And it just told us exactly what happened. So this is why. So what happens? Okay, so this is stuff I love. The basic brain function based on like brain science. You're like, oh my God,
right.
What? So you're 3. You clearly have memories. You clearly have cognition. You get this? And you say to yourself, in your own way, you don't even need to say, maybe you did, I don't have any control, but you felt like he could do whatever he wanted. And you didn't have any say. You didn't have any control. You didn't have a way to defend yourself. Yes?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So it came out as you didn't have control over that situation. And if you don't have control over that situation, it makes you feel what?
It makes me feel bad. It makes me dread whatever's coming. And I feel weak.
Exactly. Powerless.
Yes.
Weak, powerless. So this is now stored in your brain, in your memory bank for future reference, so that your brain can recognize it just in case you feel threatened. This is the default mechanism. You see this? It's like the whole fire thing. Red alert, red alert.
Right.
So our brain is so powerful. It's like, okay, let's memorize this, buddy, just in case it happens again. You know, are we going to survive it? Like, what do we got to do?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
For sure.
Yeah. So then you come up with a self-defense coping mechanism, because that's all you can do. You have no answers. There's no one to help you or coach you through it. You know, there's no one to explain anything to you, which you could have understood, by the way, at 3.
Right.
Okay? In basic 3-year-old language, we don't use big vocabulary. Okay? But what happens now is you just download and installed a very significant virus into your brain, like a computer, and you didn't even know it.
Wow.
Uh-huh. And so the self-defense coping mechanism was, I didn't feel in control, so the answer is, duh, I got to do everything in my life and in my willpower and everything I can possibly do to feel in control.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
To the point where you just said it. Before we even started talking about your childhood, do you see how it just still plays out in your life?
I see the connections.
Uh-huh. Okay. So so now your brain, and that's how the brain is programmed through analogies, metaphors, associations. It associated that fear, that danger, that threat, yes?
Yes.
To dread, no control, domination, which are your perceptions now, which ultimately will have you feel bad.
Right.
So now you're feeling bad, but you're not acknowledging your feelings, which is really weird because now it's stored in your subconscious mind. It doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined, Derek. So your brain takes that perception and fuses it together with objective reality. So in other words, whenever you feel threatened and you are out of control, doesn't matter where you are, the circumstances, you feel a sense of no control, you feel a sense of domination, then you go into fight mode, and your fight mode is to control the situation, and you become the controller and the dominating one. In order to mask the pain that you don't even feel, the pain of dread, all you know is it feels a little like, low mood, right? Low energy. And your brain goes, fix it, get in control, and you'll feel better. You see this?
Yeah.
Good. Let's breathe. It's big, it's heavy, deep.
Okay. Yeah, that was really, really insightful.
Uh-huh.
So I have a further question. Growing up, that kept happening.
Yep.
And my coping mechanism became, I guess, in simple words, to weasel my way out of it. I would, sometimes stuff my pants with clothes.
Uh-huh.
Because he would beat he would spank me or hit me with a hanger.
Uh-huh.
Or I started to run from him, and he would chase me around. And eventually, when I got, physically built enough, I fought back.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And yeah, that ended up with I would get into actual fights. And then the tipping point was when he got injured, and then from then on, he never beat me again.
Yeah. Right. So this is well, I'm glad you hit him back. You fought back, but that's just me, and that's because my mother hit me in high school. I hit her back. She hit me again. I hit her back. She brought her arm up, and I looked at her like, yeah, you go ahead and try it. I was an athlete.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying to go do that. I'm not saying, right? But hey, I'm on your side on that one. And today, that's child abuse. He could easily be reported for child abuse, which, again, there's no shame here. I deal with severely abused women in my volunteer work at a drug rehab center. And these are not just mild drugs. We're talking shoot up heroin and meth in your thigh while pregnant. Okay? So I do not judge, but what I can say is what we can all agree, that's severely traumatic for any child.
Agreed.
Okay? And I do not recommend it. And I will report people for it. Okay? Including my own parents and my own family. So just so you know, no judgment. Okay. But there are laws against this. It doesn't fly with me. So anyway, not to make your dad bad, he's only doing what he knows. And the good news is, the first thing you said, when he locked you in the bathroom, he came back crying. He showed remorse. So then thank God he's not a psychopath or a sociopath or severe narcissist. So we're like, whew, he's trying, but not good methods at all. Yeah, we can agree.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But again, if we can stay with he was only doing what he knew, most likely he went through the same thing with either his father or his mother. You see this? Hurt people hurt. It's not rocket science now.
Right. It's like he's never talked about it.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not going to until, we start sharing about it. And then actually over and over again, people share their stuff with me. And it's because I'm not ashamed to share my stuff with people. Do you understand?
Right. Yes.
And so this is what's so magnificently powerful for you right now, because we can only heal what we feel. And we're talking about your feelings of dread and fear, massive fear. Yes, rightfully so. And do you understand what happens is it gets trapped in the unconscious mind. It never has a chance to come up and out to heal it. And everything has energy, and in due time, it translates into your body. The body's the unconscious. So you'll start to have physical ailments as time goes on. Yeah. Or you'll sprain an ankle or break a leg. It's really weird, but it's a subconscious sabotage phenomenon that occurs. Right now, you're extremely biologically, like in biological years, we can say you're fairly young, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But for this work, it would be actually better if you were closer to age 2, 3, or 4 for me to coach you. You understand?
Yeah.
But what we need to know is what happens is that in due time, you'll start to suffer in some way. And you are already now emotionally and mentally, aren't you? It's not.
I am.
Yeah, exactly. You see? So let's go back. Here you are. You said you put you were putting clothes in your pants?
Yeah, I mean.
To pad it. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
That's smart. Okay, very smart. You're very smart and resourceful, yes?
Yes.
So to soften the blows, okay, so let's go back to the control. So now you're overcompensating, yes?
Yes.
And considering what you've been through, to have a happy, or your word's contentment, so it explains why you chose the word content as opposed to radical happiness, is because when you're 3 years old, you're in fear most of the time with a father with a temper.
Right.
At best, content. At best, satisfactory. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. You can't get in touch with happiness, because what child in their right mind would be happy when they have to constantly watch themselves?
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you're constantly on the defense, which is what every human being, children do in this situation. Yes?
Yes.
Even dogs do this. They know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's treated my dog like that.
Exactly.
And I can see how timid my dog is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what you don't realize is happening. So here you are, right, going about your life to this day, and you put all your weight into the money. The money is your answer to contentment. That's your perception right now, before this session. Do you understand? This
Yes.
Okay? And all this awareness. And so if you perceive or think that money is going to have you be content, then you're screwed when there's no money, because now you're not content. You're discontent, yes?
Yes.
Okay? But that we can now look at, you have to go to something or someone else to help you heal the pain and trauma from your childhood, and you don't even know it. You had no idea this is what you've been doing with yourself. Is you've been trying to cover up and mask the pain and hurt and betrayal, so to speak, from the trauma. And at best, you can only go with what other people are doing or saying, and how, you can only buy
generic advice.
Yeah, generic advice. Exactly. Very good. Thank you. But also by deductive reasoning. Okay. So you're smart enough to, and this is this continued to happen. I know 3, 4, 5, once you stopped it, you hurt him. He stopped. Yes.
Yes.
But by the time he stopped, how old were you?
17.
Right. So now we got 14 years of you embedding and coding and encrypting.
Right. And it's still continued verbally and emotionally.
Yes. Okay. And I understand, because my father was very emotionally abusive toward my mother. It's a weird dynamic. He would do it toward my mom, but not toward the kids. You have it every which way. It's just depending on the whole big picture and the dynamic. Okay. Doesn't matter. He was extremely abusive emotionally with her, so I understand. Okay? So what we need to focus on here at this moment, so your subconscious, unconscious mind can really grasp it, so we can heal it, so you can stop overcompensating. Do you understand?
Yes.
We have to disassociate all of this. And how we do that is a conscious choice. We use the brilliant conscious mind to heal all of this. And then we have to let experiences and time, have, not wash it away, but let's say it this way. At 3 years old, you formed a neural connection in your brain. And it was the thing I've been saying over and over, so that your unconscious mind can really grasp this, subconsciously to the unconscious, is that at 3 years old, okay, you are saying to yourself, there's something wrong. I have no control.
Yes.
I feel bad, dreadful. I feel dreadful. And every emotion comes with that. Sad, weak. You said weak, yes? So now you're feeling weak, dread, fear. Do you see all this? It's all stored in your brain, in your body sensations. Even talking about it's emotional for you right now, because it's all stored. Do you understand?
Right.
Okay? And so we're just making sense of it right now, and that's how it's healed. So stay with me, and I'm talking to your subconscious mind. Stay with us here, okay? So as you have all this associated in your brain, and the brain in action is your mind, it's downloaded and installed in your subconscious, and then whenever it looks the same, this will come up again. You're constantly being re-triggered into the fear, the dread, the control, and then you're triggered in your self-defense coping mechanism into, oh no, I got to take matters into my own hands, right? Survival. And I got to be the one to take control. And that's what led you to fighting back, so to speak. Yes? Do you see how you did that?
Yes.
But tit for tat, meaning that was great that you did that. Let's not take it away, but we still haven't addressed the issue.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay? And that's what we're not taught. And what I'm teaching you now is we got to address the core issue. So how it happens in your brain is you're going about your life. Things are looking good, And you're like, okay, I'm achieving things. So I'm going to say that unless you have any drug addictions?
No, I don't.
Right. So how did you mask the pain 3, 4, 5, 6? I know the answer, but I would need to hear it from you. How did you overcompensate to feel better about yourself?
When I was younger?
Yeah.
Like when I was 4, 5, and 6. I don't quite remember, but I remember a little bit older.
Uh-huh.
I was focused on, I would just devote myself to a hobby or to academics.
Bingo.
Yeah, I got really into basketball when I was around 11.
Mm-hmm.
And like every single day I would go to my garage and I focused like on a specific skill, dribbling.
Mm-hmm.
And I would dribble for like 2 hours every single day. And I got like insane handles to the point where like all the coaches were really, really impressed. And, that was just like a huge skill of mine.
Yeah.
And it made me very one-track minded.
Yes.
Like my other facets of my basketball game weren't as developed. I was just, at the end of the day, a really good dribbler.
Right.
And really flashy, yeah.
Yeah, flashy dribbler. Okay, great. That's good for Harlem Globetrotter stuff. Right? Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. You overcompensated with achievement. You overcompensated with becoming really great at something. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So that's been your drug, so to speak, just like my drug. Overcompensation, the perfectionism, and overachievement. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it does.
And then you also did that through academia, school.
Yes.
Okay.
And music.
And music. Okay. So what do you do with music?
So I was in percussion
Uh-huh.
from middle school to high school.
Uh-huh.
And I was always known for being the guy that would just practice for like 5 hours at a time, or even like 8 hours at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really, really good. And again, I also focused on one specific niche. In this case, it was 4-mallet marimba playing.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I just got really insane at it. And like my hands would bleed. I developed like huge calluses. I made it to like all region, all area, like Greater Dallas Youth Orchestra. Just, again, one-track minded, and like not even just an area percussion, but a specific instrument and a specific playing style.
Okay, so this is the very thing that drove you, was the need to feel a sense of control. Did it feel like you had control over your life?
Yeah, I felt like I could learn any song I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, honestly, it brought me a lot of joy just to play music as well.
Right. Won't take that away from you, but can you see a pattern here?
Yeah.
What's the pattern that you're seeing?
That I need to develop myself in a specific skill to feel in control, that I can do whatever I want with the skill.
Yeah. Exactly. But do you see it's a false sense of control?
Right, because there's always someone better, which put me down a lot.
Yeah, but not only is there always someone better, because there may not be somebody better, you have the perception.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, you just got it, didn't you? Mm-hmm. So if you constantly live with the perception that somebody's better, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel, again, that sense of dread. Like, even
Bingo.
though I'm achieving,
Yeah.
I would go out and look specifically for someone that's better than me, and then even more specifically, someone that's better than me in the same grade, or like in a similar situation, just so I guess I can feel even more drive to keep going. I don't know.
No, you do know. You just said it.
Yeah.
But it's not sustainable.
Right.
And this is why you get bored.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I see. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So you just have to go fill that void. It's the same as being a drug addict. You are a drug addict.
Yeah.
Aren't you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so you have to go back out. So do you see how money, everything in your life, is about filling the void, masking the pain?
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that, but I see it now.
Well, if you had thought about it, I'd be on a podcast with you getting coaching. If you had known, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know either till I had no choice but to figure it out. But again, I was a child who knew there was something seriously, seriously not right in the mind of human beings, especially me.
Right.
Okay? So I just have more practice at it. But that's the whole point of this, is looking for what you don't know or can't see, and you just said it. Remember, just half an hour ago, we were like, we got to look for what you can't see that's getting in the way.
Right.
And what's getting in the way is you. You're getting in the way with your perceptions and your thoughts and your feelings in your own mind based on what has happened and you experienced in objective reality. Do you understand this?
Yes.
So what happens is your brain is programmed. So back to 3, you now taught yourself through the experience and the trauma that you're not safe, that you have to watch out, and primarily you taught yourself that you must take control of your life so you don't feel dreadful. That's what you taught yourself, which I call a mind virus.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, think about that. You're 3 years old. What 3-year-old in their right mind, right, should be living this way?
None.
Exactly. Thank you, Derek. Thank you for getting it. Okay?
Okay.
So if you're memorizing, and you have to for survival, do you see your life is threatened? And it is. It was actually threatened if he is abusing you physically, and he's a full-grown man and you're a 3-year-old.
Right.
Right? Your life's in danger.
Scary.
Yeah, very scary. Very scary. Okay, so now you're on high alert. Do you understand? To stay alive, and you're on high alert to control. Except if we think about it, now that we're talking about this, do you understand? There's no such thing as control in terms of our overall life. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We don't even have... See, we can have control of the car, but only to a point. Is that true? In other words, we can consciously be in control of our car on the freeway or the highway, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. But do we ultimately have control in the big picture of the semi-truck smashing into us?
No.
Bingo.
No.
Exactly. So you've been trying to have control of your life, and there's no such thing as 100% control. Do you see the flaw here?
Yes.
Okay, so by understanding and dissecting this and talking about it and distinguishing what's really going on, this is how we stop the habitual patterns, the neuronal patterns in your brain. Do you understand this?
Yeah.
Okay, you're cutting out. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And how we do that, now we just weigh the pros and cons of it. And looking backwards, you needing to overcompensate and control your life so that you don't feel dread. You understand? But you're ultimately trying to feel happy and content. But really what's going on underneath that, Derek, is you're constantly fighting to be in control, which you're thinking is at some level a little bit of contentment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
That's deep, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's cut out the middleman, so to speak. In other words, okay, I know this is a lot of information. Is you consciously, by understanding this, you consciously get to choose based on the pros and cons of your methods based on your life. So if you look backwards at your life right now, kind of scan backwards.
Okay.
Can you see how your life is making more sense as to why you keep running the same patterns, the same plays, if you will?
Yeah, it does.
What specifically shows up right now?
right now,
Uh-huh.
I would say that entrepreneurship is my solution to not having control if I choose to go the corporate route of a 9-to-5 job.
Wow. And how does that make you feel?
Yeah, that, like, the idea of that life makes me dread it because it's boring and I don't have control of my time.
Right.
And I'd rather do things my own way on my own terms, which definitely leads back to when I was 3.
Bingo. Excellent. You're still running the same pattern as if you were still 3 years old, is what you're saying. Yeah?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And how does it make you feel right now?
It makes me feel like all my life can be boiled down to, some singular moments, and that once I overcome those, my life will definitely change radically and I'll feel a lot better.
Exactly. So let's do that now. So what happens is, in that experience at 3, you actually, and I'm not saying it was right or wrong.
Okay.
Is that you could only assess a situation with the information that you had. Fear, that's automatic. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then dread, you were in touch with dread at that time, yes?
Yes.
Dread. And then you were also in touch with this sense of needing to be in control, which makes sense because you felt dominated. Your father was overbearing and dominating, yes?
Right, yes.
And backed it up with physical abuse. Yes?
Correct.
Okay. So now you have that information and your brain memorizes it. But as we get a little older, around the age of 9, we have critical thinking comes into play.
Right.
So now you're able to go, okay, this isn't working for me. I've got to fix it. Does that make sense? Can you see that looking backwards? And the way to fix it was figure out a way of feeling a sense of control based on your perceptions followed by your actions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So then you started to act, and then you acted with basketball, right? Percussion. Do you see this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is a false sense of control. And all along, you're thinking you're in control of your life. Yes?
Yes.
And then it's the next thing to control and the next thing to control. And all along, you're building a house of cards, aren't you?
Yeah, building a facade.
Exactly. And then what ends up happening is it's not sustainable because you don't even know what's happening till now.
Right.
It's not sustainable. And when it's not sustainable, guess what it triggers in your brain? More fear. Fight, flight. That's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Freeze. Freeze is in play when you blatantly know your life. You're not like blatantly being murdered. Or you could freeze, actually. If you know, like someone's approaching you with a knife in their hand, you could freeze, right? Deer in the headlights. That is a thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But now you're in flight mode. And the symptom of fear flight mode is, guess what? Boredom.
Wow.
Your drug's not working anymore, so you got to change it up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm ready to change.
Yeah, exactly. So how we change it is, again, understanding the dynamic and then looking backwards and separating your perceptions and objective reality.
Mm-hmm.
See, you made up all that stuff. You perceived it. Now, I'm not saying that it was bad or wrong. What I am saying is, for as long as you have those perceptions, you're going to continue to feed into feeling dread and discontent in your life. Can you see this?
Right. And the perception when I was 3?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay? right? Your perception is, I need to have control in order to feel happy.
Right.
And there's no such thing as control, which we just brought to the table and you agreed.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
But then back it up with objective evidence and proof. If that were true, how come it's still not working? How come you don't feel sustainable control in your life?
Yeah, I don't have an answer.
Right, because it doesn't work. It's impossible. That's why.
So do I just let it go?
Well, I'm helping you to do that. Yes, the answer is yes. Now that we have all this information, concrete evidence, that the way you've been doing it, I can say is severely flawed. Ha ha ha. You see it? Because looking back at your life, I don't see it working. Do you?
No.
Okay. Okay, so let's separate. So now let's go back. We get to actually consciously go back. And if you made up, you have to control and you're not, you actually made up I'm not in control as a 3-year-old.
Right.
Right? You made up that I'm being dominated. Isn't that highly subjective? Meaning, isn't that kind of your interpretation or your opinion? Because, let's say it this way. Another child in the same exact situation actually says to themselves, oh, my dad must care about me because he's crying. And completely...
Right, you'd focus on that.
Exactly. Okay. Do you understand? All right, let's say it this way. Right? You and I go to the, grab a bite to eat, like a client meeting, yeah?
Yeah. Okay.
And we go, okay, hey, Derek, let's try this restaurant. I heard it's fantastic. And you're like, great, Karen, that sounds good. Okay, great. Bloop, bloop, bloop. We order the same exact dish, the same exact beverage. And I walk out going, wow, that was fantastic. And you're like, Karen, since I know you're straight up and I can be completely honest, I hated that. It was terrible. My steak was undercooked. The potatoes were cold and it was way too salty. Wait a second. Did we not just eat the exact same dish, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How come I thought it was great and you hated it?
Because I was looking for something negative.
True, but you had your opinions. You might not like salt. I might love salt, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of salt in those potatoes. I loved it. And you're like, ew, I hate salt. And there was way too much. You see how this is subjective?
Yes.
We can do it with every single thing. I think my one new horse is stunning. Another person might say, yeah, she's a little too thin and lanky. Do you see? It's just a matter of opinion, isn't it?
Right, yeah.
Because that person likes stocky, big quarter horses or draft horses like the Budweiser horses, and I like lean, mean cardio machines because that's what... Do you understand?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? So it's subjective to think... You actually said, I have no control. How could you have any control when you're 3 and your dad's a full-grown man? How's that even possible for you to control? Mm-hmm. If it were even possible. But do you see how subjective that is?
Yes.
So the key here is to separate your perceptions of what happened in that experience versus just the simple, factual reality. And if you can separate the two and disassociate your perceptions from objective reality, then this is how you maintain a sense of inner control, if you will.
Okay.
So let's try it.
I'm still a little bit
it's
lost.
A little tricky. Right. So let's... Okay, go ahead.
If you don't mind.
Ask me the question.
Objectively speaking, I didn't do anything, right?
Wait, hold on. You cut out. Say again, please. Yeah.
Objectively speaking, like you mentioned, he's a full-grown man and I'm 3.
Yeah.
So are you saying that I, in fact, had control?
Well, I'm actually saying, how can we even quantify control at that point?
Oh, okay.
That it's subjective. And then based on objective reality, how could you even have any, let's just say control was a thing. We just proved it wasn't a thing, but let's pretend it is a thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How are you to have control as a 3-year-old boy unless you're like 6'2", with 10% body fat and muscles? How are you to control the situation? How's that even possible with a full-grown man?
It's not.
Exactly. So, but then we can also say the reverse is true. Meaning you said you were out of control or didn't have control. That's not true either, is it? We can't say...
Yeah, that's not true.
No. It's subjective. In other words...
I couldn't have had it in the first place.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
right.
Yeah.
And even if you did have it, that was merely your perception, because we just went over how there's no such thing as having control. It's an illusion.
Right.
It's a theory. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
With the whole car thing?
Exactly.
Right? Now, let's go back. Tell me that situation again, but I want you to just give me it in fact form of what happened with no subjectivity. Be completely objective. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I caused an accident.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, he lost his temper. So he hit me. Mm-hmm. And then he locked me in the bathroom door. And then he felt remorse. And then he apologized to me while crying.
Okay, good. Where does it say you're being dominated and controlled?
Nowhere.
Do you see how you made that up? You imagined it, so to speak.
Right.
This is big.
Yeah. Like during my time in the bathroom alone, I guess it felt like he could do whatever.
Exactly. See, now get this. Granted, he's an adult. In a way, in objective reality, we could say he could do whatever. But whether he did or not, okay, nowhere does it prove in any way, shape, or form that he has any more control over you. Do you understand? Because if you have the perception he has control over you, you have the perception that you're being controlled in your life to this day. Do you see how that's a problem?
Yeah.
That's where we have to let it go. We have to reconcile. We have to say, wait a minute, that was then how I perceived it, how I thought it was, which now that I look back and we're talking about it, if it's subjective, I don't have to cling to the same story. I don't have to stay with that same version now that we're talking about it. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So what I'm hearing, let me make sure I heard this right. In fact form, you're 3. You think there was an accident, but you're not really sure. But there most likely was an accident. So let's throw that out since we don't have evidence.
Okay.
Okay, you're 3. Your dad laid his hands on you, beat you, but he hit you and caused bruising or whatever. Right? So we take a picture of that. And it's like as if we're going to court, right? Now I'm your attorney. We have to provide all the evidence. He hit you. He placed you in the bathroom, locked the door. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Then after a certain amount of time, he came in crying and said words to the fact of an apology. Is that what I heard?
Correct.
Yes. Versus the whole drama, can you see this? Of you going, again, your perceptions are going to create your emotions and feelings. So then you just have to ask yourself, do you want to, and you can, do you want to stay with the same perceptions with subjectivity, knowing the cost and consequences? Do you want to stick to that story?
No, I do not.
Yeah, especially since it's so subjective. Do you understand?
Right.
Now, I'm not condoning what he did. I will be the first one to call up and go, okay, you know what? You better send child services over here right now or this guy's going down. That would have been me, right? Like I just happened to walk in. Okay, you know what? And everyone would have, by the way, it's counterintuitive. The minute, because it worked. You hit him back and he stopped. I didn't even need to hit him back. I would have said, okay, you know what? This is illegal. And so I'm going to call the authorities and we'll let them handle it. Do you think he would have stopped? Most likely, yes.
Yeah.
You see this? I didn't even need to, Powerful, isn't it? I didn't even need to like get dirty or fight back.
Right.
Or break a nail, you know it? Or break my stiletto shoe heel, right? On that thing. You understand?
Or break a sweat.
Yeah. Oh my God, my lashes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I can't get dirty. Yes, and I'm joke to make it light because what you want to look at, and this is what I learned, was when we separate, we look back with no shame, talk about it, allow our feelings to come up and emerge. Again, no judgment, no criticism. And now we have something to work with. Now we can make sense of the situation based on more information that we never even knew and no one ever taught us. You see this?
Right. Yes.
Okay. Now let's go over again quickly. If you want to hang on to and continue to encrypt, do you understand this? That you didn't have control, therefore you need to always live your life with a sense of control. If you keep memorizing that and you understand fully that it's a facade, it's faulty, it's flawed, it's not sustainable. Can you see this? You can continue to do that, Derek. Just be responsible for the consequences. And the consequences are, if you keep feeding into that, you will create the same objective life. You will keep creating the same life you've been living, looking backwards. Your choice, if you want to continue to do this. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
So you have option A. That's option A. Or you have option B. Rewrite and memorize new associations and subjectivity. Okay? By letting go of that particular set of perceptions, opinions, interpretations, the subjective part. By letting that go, you now open yourself up to not have to worry about whether you're in control or not, because that's subjective anyway. And so you don't then need to overcompensate with being in control. This is plan B.
Right.
Right? Which frees you up to have more energy to just be happy. Okay?
Okay. So, in terms of, like, let's say what I'm doing right now, my business, so I can just look at it as, if it works out, it will. If it doesn't, then that's what it is.
Well, there's that, which is more spiritual and faith, but we want to say right out of the gate, you want to get in touch with, okay, it looks like you prefer to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Okay, good. And that you can let go of this sense of fake control. That's got to go. Because that's sucking the life out of you and actually recreating you needing to control everything. Which we just distinguished that with those perceptions, when you need to fix or control something, you're not happy. You're in discontent, aren't you?
Right.
Are you? Well, let's check. Do you?
Yeah.
Right? Do you like to live your life? Right? Always trying to fix something and be in control of something and still not be happy? Okay.
No, it's very worrying.
Yeah, it is, right? I mean, just at face value, you're just like, God, just talking about it is like, ugh, can we move on? Is that true? Yeah,
it is. So if I'm not controlling, then, like, who's running the business?
Wait, good question. Okay, ask it again.
Yeah, so if I say that, okay, I'm not in control of this business, then I guess my question would be, like, then who's running this business?
Okay,
or is it up to fate?
No, I see what you're saying. So wait a second. Let's make sure we're understanding this notion of control.
Okay.
Right? We need to get rid of control. Is my point here.
Yeah.
control has got to go. In any way, shape, or form, does it serve anyone or anything to have a sense of control? I don't see where it's like a good thing. Okay, and let me say it this way. Let's stay objective. And how I have it, and then you have to see if it resonates with you, if it kind of like, I kind of like that, or not. The word control, how I have it, is everything I've been saying, but I know that there's really no such thing as 100% control. So I just don't want to even use that word control. Mm-hmm. Unless they're like, oh, you're in the cockpit of your Gulfstream jet. Take the control. Then I say, oh, okay, what's the control? They're like, the lever to the right. Okay, I'm taking the control. You see this? Mm-hmm. Or, Karen, take control of your jet. Okay, Bob, thank you. All right, I think I will take control as much as I can. But for me to be stuck on that and stay in fear and clench up, like in fear, to think that I ultimately have control of my life is a waste of energy for me because I already know logically that's impossible. Right.
Okay, so allow me to rephrase. So in terms of percentages, like in the perspective of the jet, let's say maybe you have 98%, so don't worry about the 2% that you don't have control. Maybe there's a storm or wind or failure.
Yes.
Okay.
Because if I fixate on that 2%, I'm not happy. I'm in discontent and dread. And believe it or not, it's weird, creepy weird, that in that energy, something bad happens. But
because you're thinking about it.
Yeah, you're putting your energy there. Earl Nightingale, you ever put your energy and thoughts and emotions ends up becoming reality. Yeah!
Right. Yeah.
Okay? Mm-hmm. But let's even remove that part. Let's throw that out. You got it? Why would I, in my jet, right, that I lease or own, my Gulfstream jet, and I'm flying high with my pilot, teaching me how to fly my plane, why would I focus on 2% negative when I can revel and enjoy 98% of bliss? Why would I do that? That make sense?
It's illogical, yeah.
Right. Like, hey, if, God forbid, knock wood, anything happen, that 2% does happen, that I have no control over, well, I'm going down with a smile on my face, doing what I love.
Yeah.
In something I created. Because I'm going to die anyway, right? We're all going to die one day. Let's face the facts. Doesn't matter how old we are. My brother died at 2.5 months of the crib death. You understand?
Yeah.
Right? My other sister died at 34. Okay, so I've had a lot of horses die. Yeah. I've had to face my own mortality. Like, and as a kid, I was like, I don't even get it. Why would I live here, be unhappy, and die one day? I said that to myself at like 9 or 10 years old. Pretty dreadful, isn't it? But I'm smart. Yeah. That's true. Isn't it true? What's the point of living if we're going to be here being miserable? I don't get it.
Exactly.
Right? If we live forever, it would make a little more sense. But even then, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? That's just me personally. Yeah. Hey, if it's not your jam, someone else is like, no, I'm going to be negative. Great. I'm just not going to hang around you, and don't invite me to any of your parties because it's a big no. It's a big fat goose egg. Right?
Right.
So that's my whole point.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Right.
Resonate?
So it'd be okay to focus on what you do have control over, but
yes,
you'll never have full control, and I accept that.
If you're going to use the word control, which you absolutely are entitled to, you want to make sure that whatever's tied and associated with that control isn't weighing you down and weighing down your contentment and happiness and your connection to your greatest, highest potential within yourself.
Right. Is there a better word to use?
Yes. I use powerful.
Power. Okay.
Yeah. You know, that I have a sense of inner power to navigate through my life with the greatest amount of effortlessness, you know, and grace and happiness and fun and freedom. Because words do matter to a certain degree.
Right.
But anyway we dice it up, Derek, focus on letting go of this sense of control that you actually are out of control. That's really what you need to focus on, is that you believe that you have no control. That's what you're believing right now, aren't you?
Yes.
And if you have no control, it makes you feel crappy, dreadful.
Crappy.
Yeah,
Yes.
right? That's my word. I like that word because it's funny. It makes me laugh.
Yeah.
But you feel this sense of dread, right? So it's counterproductive. Right. It makes no sense to hang on to something that easily leads you into dreadfulness. It leads you into discontent. And the wheel of insanity, in this type of work and personal development is doing the same things, expecting different results.
Right.
It doesn't serve you to continue to think you need to control and dominate. Do you see how, in a way, that's what you've been functioning off of?
Yes.
The need to control and dominate, yes? That has been your driving force. Can you see that looking backwards at your life?
Definitely.
And then to think it that way, in your own experience, when you're under your own spell of needing to control and dominate, how's that worked for you in your life?
It hasn't solved the feeling of crappiness.
Exactly. Has it?
No.
So why would you want to continue doing the same thing, expecting different results?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Bingo. Okay. So let's go back again. 3 years old, what we're hearing in fact form that we could prove in a court of law, okay, that gives you the most power and makes you feel the happiest and most content is to just get that you were hit by your father, locked in the bathroom, and that why are you not focusing on he came in and apologized crying and sobbing? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's really absurd.
It is. Like, if you're going to focus on something, focus on the better part. You're so fortunate that he even did that. Most don't. They make the recipient feel guilty.
Yeah.
Wow. What did you just get?
I feel a sense of relief. I think I've pinpointed what has, like physically, I feel like something has been weighing on my shoulders, and I think that was it. And it's not 100% solved, but I see the way out, and I definitely feel a lot more relieved. I do have one more question, which would be like, what are some techniques to combat if it surfaces again? Yes. Is what happens is you memorize everything I just taught you. Hence the podcast. Okay. Listen to it over and over. And it's the same template for every situation. The only thing that you would hire me for, right, is to help you see what you can't see. Exactly. Okay? And we need another human being to do that. In other words, we must get into the unconscious and unlock it to set ourselves free. No pun intended. Haha. You see this? Yeah. And so you want to listen, and then you have to think of all these things. It's like, okay, the basketball thing. You fixated on dribbling, and that's great. The riches are in the niches, so I love that. You understand? Dribble, dribble, dribble. But unfortunately, if you were to play the game of basketball, the full-blown game with the scoring and everything. Like a fish out of water. Yeah, you then need to train and practice the weaker areas, or the areas where you're not as proficient. How do you you can use any word you want, but if you want to play the game of basketball, you now need to open up your mind and train in the areas where you haven't been training that are technically not your strengths but your weaknesses, and that'll do it. That's what you do now. Same thing. Right. Do you understand? If you want to win the big game of life, now you're training in the areas that you're the weakest. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so where we can say, obviously you're weak in the area of thinking you need to control everything when ultimately there is no real... There is no sense. Yeah, exactly. So why even put your energy into that, let it go, but you just said it.
by understanding this, you have a sense of relief and that a huge weight has been lifted off your shoulders. Isn't that true?
Yeah, and I feel a lot more gratitude for what I have now.
Exactly. And that's what you do. So it's a whole series of things. Mm-hmm. See, you could go to the Hollywood Boulevard and be a star dribbler with a little guitar case out there, or like a hat, and people would throw money to you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. But then you have to ask yourself, is that the whole picture for you? You personally. Is that something that you'd really be happy doing? Yes or no?
No.
I'm sorry. No, right? Okay. So then, if that's the case, then it's practicing in the areas that are new and different.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay? And what's new and different is every time you feel this, you have to be super conscious and you see, oh my God, there's that thing again. Right? I'm going to listen to the podcast. I would listen to this podcast every single day, truth be told, until your next one. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then you start memorizing all the different moving parts, and that's the practice. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay? And then what ends up happening is as you keep memorizing all the new stuff, you're creating brand new neural connections in your favor now by going back and using your past as reference. Now, let's understand this is how the brain functions, is whatever is in the past is memorized and stored in the human brain, the memory bank.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay? Again, for future reference, to help you survive life until death for the longest amount of time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But nowhere in that default mechanism does it say you're going to be guaranteed happiness and fulfillment and peace and contentment. Isn't that interesting? In other words, the human brain is not concerned with your happiness. Mm-hmm. We actually have to train for happiness.
Wow.
Yes. In other words, happiness is a byproduct of powerful perceptions and reframing, and then focusing on the apology. Focusing on that he did his best to what's called make amends, to apologize, to take responsibility. And I will tell you point blank that your father could benefit from this type of work, and that he was completely torn. That's why he was apologizing, thank goodness. Mm-hmm. Is he was very reactive. Something in his brain got triggered. I'm not going to get into it. I know what it is, okay? Mm-hmm. And he had to react to overcompensate in his way. Do you see this?
Right.
And then because he's not a sociopath, right, or a psychopath, he had a sense of remorse, which had him come in and do his best to take responsibility and apologize to you.
Yeah, and I'm thankful for that.
Exactly. And that's what you want to focus on. We don't discount and let him get away with the other part.
Right.
But if you're going to choose anything to focus on, choose now that we're talking about it, choose the apology.
Definitely.
Okay? Choose that he did regret it, he was sorry, and he was even back that up with tears, which is powerful, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. This is big. Now, we just have a few more minutes because, like I said, this is genius that you, right out of the gate, came up with this and you're connecting all these dots and it's making sense to you, yes?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Mm-hmm. And one by one, as we understand, why we're being stopped and why we're overcompensating. So let me connect it for you. A recap, yes?
Okay.
So go ahead. What was your question again when we first started?
Yeah. What mindsets and character flaws are stopping me from making more money?
Okay, good. So now that we I want you to answer the question. Now that we just had this full-blown, deep, enlightening conversation, do you have an answer from your point of view?
Yeah. Firstly, well, like the direct answer would be that it's my false sense of needing control, which stems from that traumatic experience when I was 3. And then on another level, it's that the question itself isn't very important at all. It's just me chasing another aspect, and like making more money is just one of the other ways I was trying to cope. And in fact, I don't even need to make more money per se.
Yeah, and the minute you let go of that, it's so counterintuitive, the more opportunities show up. So let's say it this way. So that was excellent. Is when we focus on money as fixing something, or it's a Band-Aid, do you see this? Or it's an overcompensation and a false sense of control. That's what you've been doing with money.
Right.
So who we're being in one area of life is who we're being in all areas of life to one degree or another. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And there's a direct correlation. You ready? There's a direct correlation. And see how it resonates with you, because it completely made sense to me. The direct correlation to your relationship and association to money is predicated or driven by the invisible, unconscious relationship you have to your parents. It transfers. So let me see. You see this?
Yes. Can I make a connection?
Yes, please do. Okay, wait.
Yeah,
wait, you're cutting out. Hang on.
Okay. Yeah. Is it fine?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So because, or like previously when I was chasing the money, and because that was one of the coping mechanisms in my mind, I never really had control over it. So therefore, once I get rid of it, then that's how the path could be open where money would come to me. Because now I don't have a lack of control over the money, even though I was chasing it.
Wow. Wait, okay, say it again.
Yeah. So because I was chasing the money, that means that it was a coping mechanism, which means that in my mind, I could never attain full control over it. But once I let that go, then I can see lots of ways and opportunities that the money will find me.
Bingo! Oh my goodness! Woo! That's deep, Dare.
Yeah.
Can I call you Dare? Dare.
Yes,
that is
you may.
Super deep. That's amazing. And that's
wild, yeah.
Yeah. Why is it wild? Say a little bit more.
It's because I'm completely operating from a different perspective now. And I feel a lot more relieved. And honestly, just a lot more love and gratitude towards everything in my life.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? So think about this. If you had the disempowered relationship before this call with me and with your father and money, because they're completely the same thing. Do you see this? Which is what I just said.
Yes.
Now that you just reframed it, backed by, creating brand new perceptions, focusing on the good parts. Yeah?
Yes.
With those positive perceptions, it makes you feel what?
Happy.
Yeah. And content, but now
yes.
Happy is even better than content from my point of view. Yes? Not better, but it feels like more higher energy to be happy versus content to me.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, definitely higher.
So if you are around someone who's happy and they provide a service or have products, are you more inclined to spend money on that product and service coming from someone who's happy?
Yes.
Bingo. Which is exactly, if you want, sustainable. We're talking lifelong sustainable prosperity, happiness. Yes? Money is going to show up in that energy, but hey, who am I? I can only talk to you from experience. Every time I would just stay in my passion. The riches are in the niches, and I'd focus on what makes me happy. Fitness, dancing, real estate, investment real estate. These are my businesses. Coaching, horses.
Wow, that's so many.
Yeah. Okay. Well, over time, like it was one, then the next, because I kept changing to level up. All right. Mm-hmm. That if I look backwards, the only thing I saw as a common denominator is every time I was living my passion, people offered me money. That's all I can tell you. And then when I wasn't living my passion and I was unhappy, especially after my sister died, I was not attracting any money. I'll tell you that. And I didn't even want to be here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in other words, sustainable money, I'm talking happy money, right, is sourced from happy person, happy beingness. That's my point. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay? And that's how it's worked every time, all the time, based on objective reality and evidence in my own life. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Without fixating or attaching ourselves as any of it defining us. Mm-hmm. See, you use money to define whether you were in control or not in control.
Okay.
Yep. You were using money, which I call abuse. Whew. You were using money as if money had any power to give you control. Does that sound insane to you right now?
Yeah, it does.
Because if that were even remotely true, Steve Jobs would still be alive.
Right.
Most people would be alive, especially the people with a lot of money who died.
Yeah. Exactly. In the end, they never had that much control.
Yeah, I would have to say, truth be told, I don't even know if they had any control.
Yeah, for some people.
Right.
It's crazy. And
it's a perception. They might say, no, I had full control. Okay, we can agree to disagree. Mm-hmm. The questions I'm going to know, okay, is it control you're looking for before you're dead, or are you looking for devout peace and happiness, fulfillment, purpose, legacy? But hey, that's just me. We can agree to disagree on that one.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. The latter.
Okay, exactly. Especially when we have no control truly on when our number's up. Mm-hmm. So at best, I'm going to be as happy as humanly possible, right? With the least amount of distress and negative perceptions, just in case. Call me crazy. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was a big, big, deep, profound coaching session right here.
Yeah. No, for sure. 100%.
Okay. And just a disclosure, and especially for the listeners, but for you, Derek, too, this is just the beginning, right? 0 to 19, there's just a whole bunch of other types of experiences like this that get in the way of our life. We just happen to be talking about money here, yes?
Yes.
But there's just a whole bunch more. So this is just the beginning. And if this is your beginning, OMG. Do you understand? The disclaimer is you've got to keep training. You can't just do one and think you're done.
Right.
Right? You can't just practice free throws. Wait, no, 3-pointers, for one day and think you got it. And then the next day you come in and practice defense, I don't know, you call them basketball, then you practice other drills. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Even though you're a great dribbler, you've got to go and work on all the other aspects to play the full game. The same stands true here, just making sure that's crystal clear. Mm-hmm. And that this puts you so far ahead of the pack. That's just my opinion. People can disagree, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But from my expert professional, right?
Yes.
Point of view and opinion, if you're here so early on, you got this. You're going to want to stay in it, whether it's with me or anybody else. That's the point. Mm-hmm. Okay? is looking for what you can't see and you don't know is stopping you. And make sure that all your associations in your mind are serving you in a powerful way, as opposed to a disempowering way, and and holding you back and keeping you down. And especially the bottom line is, if you have to keep putting yourself through this dread cycle, that's got to go. Is the point? Yes.
Yeah. It does.
Okay. Wonderful. So now you're going to let this integrate into your mind. You have the recording, in the podcast to listen over and over again. And the next thing will come up and the next thing will come up. But just stay where you are in the moment and know that this is the beginning of something magnificent. When you're feeling, you tell me, with all this information and your perceptions in this moment, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling gratitude for, everything that I have in my life, and everything that makes me happy. And, if I were to pass away today, I'd pass away happy.
Wow. That was my biggest fear, by the way, as a kid, that I would die.
Same.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate loss of control.
Say it again. You cut out.
Yeah, that was, for me, that was the ultimate, for that concept of lack of control.
Yes.
Death was the ultimate.
Bingo. Another brilliant statement and observation. That's amazing. Yes?
Yeah, I feel great right now.
Wait, say it again. You cut out. I feel
just so great right now, and thankful, for your time and your coaching, and just for everything in general.
Yeah, right? It feels even deeper, yes? Can we say? I know
Yes.
that feeling. It's like ooey gooey inside.
Yeah.
Okay, and then last question. How are you feeling about this need to control and dominate thing?
I don't feel I really need to anymore. There's always going to be accidents that come up, and if it does, then that's just the way it is. I don't need to worry about it.
Exactly. Like, why even bother wasting energy there?
Yeah, exactly.
And now, do you understand you have the technology, the power, the tools, the wherewithal to actually achieve that in your mind?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, last words of wisdom. Anything you want to say before we complete for this time together?
Yeah, I just want to say for the listeners out there, to be open-minded, and be willing to take a deep introspective look at yourself and let go, and ideally with Karen to help you and guide you, and stop worrying about the trivial aspects of your life and focus on what is making you happy now, and naturally things will work out and you will be as happy as you are tomorrow as you are today.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Okay, so then I just have to say this. So this has everything to do with be beyond content and happy first. And when we're functioning from that place, from a deep within our core, do you understand? Yes. That's energy that has to come out in our beingness, in our aura, in our energy field. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So when I was living backwards and you were living backwards before this information, so now you can be happy and content in the moment without needing to control and overcompensate, which has you feel freer, yes, and more energetic to do what you got to do with the least amount of effort to have what you want to have.
Exactly.
Bingo. Yes?
Exactly.
And you get to fill in the blanks. This is the freedom. You get to, call the shots. You get to create it your way. Be happy. Do. Yes? And then you'll have fill in the blank. For me, it's a horse, right? For me, money, right?
Yeah.
And then you'll have money. Isn't this way better to do it, be this and do it this way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. And I'll tell you it works because here's the final coup d'etat, like the icing on the cake, right? The cherry on the ice cream sundae is even if you're happy now in your beingness and you're so connected to self and in gratitude as you are, which is amazing, Derek, okay? That God forbid the little blue-green marble implodes, right? Blows up and we're all gone. You're happy. Do you see how we can never lose?
Yeah.
Bingo. All right. That's the point I wanted to make. But
thank you.
You're welcome. The miraculous thing, the magical thing is it's all counterintuitive. Meaning in the happiness, there's way more prosperity. There's way more abundance. There's way more happy money. There's nothing worse, than having money and still being depressed and unhappy, which is my life, my entire life. That's how it was.
Wow.
Yeah. You know how bad that's even worse. It's one thing to not have the money. So I know from experience. So I just want to, the point is, do not fixate on the money as fixing anything. Fixate on yourself and understanding who you are and why you are. And right. And understanding what you can't see that's getting in the way. Bam. That's all I got to say there. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Thank you, Derek. You are absolutely extraordinarily amazing. You beyond belief.
So much.
You're welcome. Blew my mind today with what you were able to share and connect all the dots. And so I'm excited for you and your life, and of course to continue working with you if that's something that is in the cards and something that you want. And, we'll discuss, but I would love to have you come back and share all the amazing successes, okay?
Yeah, I would love to come back, and, thank you so much, Karen. Definitely immediately improved my life.
Thank you, Derek, and you inspire me and give me the courage and encouragement to continue doing what I'm doing. So I want to thank you for that as well, okay? All right. Okay, thank you all for listening. Karen Love Lee at Gmail. And thank you all for really staying with us today. And if it's something that really resonated, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you all, and I wish you magical, miraculous, dream-filled life of happiness, health, and wellness. Thank you.